Okay, so today I'm just going to be covering a quick plugin demonstration for a weather system. And I want to state that this is not my plugin. This is Mog Hunter's plugin. It's weather underscore EX. So when you look in your plugins right here, Mog Weather EX, this is essential and it has to be set to true. So that is an essential part of this plugin. So what's happening is over here I've created a parallel event, and all it says is clear all weathers, and then the weather is set to the first ID of the map. It is set right now to 15, which is the effect of Cloud 1, aka fog effect. I am pulling 10 images or 10 particles of file cloud 01A, and I have them at a speed or power of 10, so that's their movement speed. And then the blend type from 0 to 2 is at a 1, so that way it's not necessarily too transparent, but it's also not overbearingly covering everything. So to give you an example of what that will look like, I'm just going to load up game real quick. Let's skip my splash screen. So there, I'll explain that in a minute. But you can see, here's the clouds. So right here, 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 and they don't touch the player because they're above the player. So these weather effects that you put on, they're going to be above. That way they're never conflicting the player movement. So that helps. Now, the reason that I have clear all weathers right here is because every time you move to a new map, if you don't clear weather, you're going to have it persist through. So each time you go to a new location, if you are not clearing the weather, it will drag over everything that you have there, which can cause conflictions, because let's say you've caused this ID to be 1, and on another map have an ID 1 as well, and you haven't cleared those weathers, they might conflict with each other and cause a game error. So that's a problem. And then as far as files, you can see Cloud 1A here. If I go to the files, and right here is Cloud 1A, or Cloud 01A, I should say. You have to do it case sensitive and everything. It has to be able to look and find the image, so it needs to know where you're pointing that. And it's just the file. It'll look through all your game files. It just needs to know the file name. So, very simple. And then the main event that is actually running everywhere, if I can find where I put it. Nope. Nope, okay. It's on the main one then. So here, up in here, plugin command weather. So that those stars you saw shooting, the shooting stars, that's that plugin command. So if I was to add a new one, I would go to plugin command and then type weather and all of these. And these spaces are very important. If you don't have a space between these and these as well, then it won't read the plugin correctly. Now, I did make a common event, and I called it transport weather. I used that to cycle between the two of them. So here's where it's really important. When I go to a map and you look at this event right here, you see page 1. Page 1 always runs last if there's another page, right? So weather trigger off. When it's off, that common event, it does nothing. Or when weather trigger's on, I'm sorry. When weather trigger is off and there's no trigger, it runs. And then it runs the clear weather, it runs the plugin command, and then it turns the weather trigger on, which that means it's like a self switch. It'll say, "Oop, let's not run this anymore because, boom, the weather trigger's on. So we're going to run nothing. But as soon as I clear weather, that's when it turns it off. Because if you see right here, this transport weather, that's my common event. Transport weather, common event, weather trigger equals off. So every time I'm going to a new scene, if I go to a cut scene, if I transport to another area, anytime I do any of that, I turn the trigger off. That way, the event that I have in every location, so like even here, clear all weathers, so take everything from the old map, clear that out first, restart the weather that I've determined to put on there, turn the trigger on. That way, the event stops trying to rerun and the map doesn't get hung up. But then, as soon as I exit any location, I run the common event, which is transport weather, and that common event is to turn that trigger off. That's all it does. That's all it does. And it works beautifully. Because you saw how I shifted from shooting stars from the first map cutscene to the second map having clouds. No overlapping of weather, no conflictions. Now, in the plugin on his website, Mog Hunters, you can set other weathers. So I could do weather ID 2 with another plugin command and do some other things. So I could have sunlight and rain. I could do snow and rain, fog and rain, or fog and snow. So there's combinations you can do and have them run at the same time, or you can have them run under conditions. So you can set them to timers. So that way you can say, well, this will run for this amount of time, and then this will run. So you can play around with the weather quite a lot. But this is super helpful when it comes to building a weather system that will change everywhere else. And then my personal suggestion, when you enter a building, the best thing to do, just clear the weather. Don't run any weather. If you want light coming in because you have windows designed specifically in specific areas, I guess that's fine with sunlight, but I would pull the smallest amount of particles and have it almost transparent. That way it's not overbearing to the point where you think that there's no roof on the building. So I personally suggest just clear the weather. Turn the trigger on, let the trigger be there, exit the building, resets the trigger, runs the new weather event. So that's all I've got for today. I just wanted to show you guys that so that if you want to build weather systems, that's how you do it. Thanks.